These words we're adding the suffixes full or ness to the base or root word. So the suffix full, when you add it to a root or a base word, you're dropping one L and it means plenty of. And in these ones here, if a word ends in Y, you've got to remember to change the Y to an I if there's a consonant before the Y, before we add the suffix ness. And ness means in a state of. So our words are pitiful, plentiful, fanciful, ugliness, dustiness, emptiness, happiness, tidiness, laziness, and naughtiness. Now I want you to go through and highlight that Y that's changed into an I in each one of these words, because it is important to remember that you can't leave that sound out, that letter out of the word, because you can't leave that sound out of these words. You can't say naughtness, it's got to be naughtiness. Pitful, no, it's got to be pitiful. So it's very important that you retain that sound for that the Y was making and now the I is making. So the other things we need to look at within these words is that you know that you're going to use a C for the if it's followed, you're allowed to use it if the C for the sound if it's followed by an I, E or a Y. Nothing tricky in any of those. Got a short vowel here, so you've got your double consonant after it. And I think you've got that A-U-G-H. So the A-U is the OR sound. The G-H we leave silent because we can't make that guttural sound. So it indicates that it's probably an old Germanic word with that guttural G-H in it. Let's go back and look at what each of these words mean. So pitiful means deserving pity. Plentiful means that something's in abundance. Fanciful means imaginative or imaginary or extravagant. Ugliness means lacking in beauty. Dustiness means covered with dust. Emptiness means that it's desolate or hollow. Happiness means elation or joy or feeling pleasure. Tidiness means neatness or order. And laziness means idleness or inactivity. And naughtiness means poor behaviour, mischief or misconduct. The important part about this list is adding suffixes to a base word or root. So if you're adding the suffix full, you drop one L. But if you're adding the suffix ness, you keep the double S on it. So do remember that. Now the other thing that you've got to remember in this list, which is very important, is that if there is a consonant before the Y, you have to change the Y to an I, only if there is a consonant before it. Now, sometimes I see students taking out or forgetting to put in that I, they just take out the Y and don't put any letter in. You need that letter to be replaced by an I, that Y to be replaced by an I, because you need that sound in there. So we've got pit-it-ful. We've got plentiful, fanciful, ugliness, dustiness, emptiness. It's not happiness, it's happiness. It's not tiredness, it's tidiness. So do remember to replace the Y with the I. Make sure you put that letter in. Now in this section here you have to write the word to match the correct meaning. So we've given you some definitions here. Down the bottom you have to fill the sentence with a list word so that the sentence makes sense and is complete. Down here you're looking for synonyms. Now you should know by now that a synonym means a word that means the same as the given words. Complete the expression money can't buy. Hopefully you find that one easy and you've heard it and perhaps used it yourself. In this set of words we're adding the suffixes full and ness. So just take note, when you use full as a suffix you've got to take away one of the L's, so you're only adding FUL. But when you're writing ness or adding ness to a base word, you are keeping the double S there. So we've got pitiful, plentiful, fanciful, ugliness, dustiness, emptiness, happiness, tidiness, laziness, naughtiness. Now the base words of these would be ending in a Y, pity, plenty, fancy, ugly, dusty, etc. But we have to remember to change the Y to an I if there is a consonant before the Y. and then we add the prefix. Now we can't get rid of that sound, pit, we can't say pitful, we've got to say pit-it-ful, so we're changing that Y at the end from saying it's E sound to an it sound. Now here we've got opposite, so you just have to work out what would be the opposite to cleanliness and write them, each of those words in there to suit the words we've given you. Then complete the table. We've given you the list word, we want you to take it back to its base word form. Down here we want you to make the new words, then use each of them in a sentence. Now this is just going over the rule alert which I explained to you, changing the Y to an I if there is a consonant before the Y, and because we still need to retain that sound. So here's a little practice for you in each of these little activities here, and then we want you to write the new words that you've just made into 3 sentences down here. Okay, today's page is on Greek combining forms, and combining forms are meaningful word parts that can occur at the beginning or end of a word. So Greek words are often made up of more than one combining form and can have a suffix as well. These words are often scientific or medical terms, and that's because the Greek were the early scholars, and they did a lot of the early study into science and medicine. So the suffix ology means the study of. Match the Greek combining form to the meaning. So you might do the ones you find easiest first and then do the harder ones later. So thermo, you know, means heat, so you could link those together and work your way on. Separate the Greek combining forms and write the meaning. So you're going to break these words up, like telegram would be telegram, and then you've got to write the meaning. We've done the first one for you. Down the bottom you have to fill in the gap with one of the scientists below. So these are some of the scientists that you're going to have to identify which science they actually work within. So paleontologist, a geologist, psychologist and a meteorologist. So if you get stuck on those, you could look at the meanings of some of those forms within the words and talk about it within your group, talk about those definitions, and you should be able to link them up quite easily.